All right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Breakfast Weekend on Impact Africa Television. Like we told you earlier, we will be kickstarting the discussion segment off with juvenile delinquency, how it can be curbed. Many people have attributed juvenile delinquency to it being the fault of the society. It's the things that it's in vogue in quote. Some say it's the parents who have taking a wrong turn somewhere in the upbringing of such children. Some say you just have some children like that. They have what some people in technology would say bug. Something is wrong with those children. Is that what it is? What is your own opinion? Well, this morning we have two experts in the studio with us. We have Mrs. Ibukunoluwa Oteshili, who is a child advocate. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Mrs. Folashade Johnson, who is a guidance counselor. Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I think we first need to start the discussion by establishing what juvenile delinquency actually means. Is it by a child going against the wishes of the parents? I mean, in the most basic ways. For example, sit at home, I'll be back. And then the child goes to the neighbor's house to play football. Or what exactly is juvenile delinquency? Let me have your thoughts, ma'am.
Okay, juvenile delinquency really is antisocial behavior.
Mm-hmm. To what extent?
Antisocial behavior, hostility. Then you mentioned about basic as disobeying parents. Now that might itself not be delinquency, but it's a pointer. It's almost like setting the bricks. If care is not taken in that regard. So you have anything that is antisocial, anything that that is hostile or such, anything that actually infringes on the rights of other people. Criminal vices, criminal activities begin to come into it. So from drugs, substance abuse, to prostitution, to theft, to anything that is antisocial, that is unacceptable, is like going deviating from the acceptable standards of social interaction, of harmony, of communal living or living in peace. So anything that goes against that, vandalization and all of that, comes under antisocial behavior.
Mrs. Johnson, you're a guidance counselor. Yes. Would you like to add anything to the bucket of what juvenile delinquency means?
Well, I'm so sure she has said it all. Actually, it's not just something that just started. It's just like she said, that a break. It's a gradual thing. It's a gradual process before to get to the extreme, that to be out of hand. It actually starts from somewhere lying, stealing, trancing, and all that. That is actually how then it will get out of hand and then just explode.
But from a child exhibiting independence to that child maybe disobeying or something, how do you draw the line? How do you know, okay, this is when I need to start taking this seriously?
You have to start from the day the child was born, if it is permitted. For instance, there is an educationist non-list, that is John Locke. He said the heart of a child is tabula rasa. It is whatever that is written in the heart that the child will grow up with. Fine, I understand that there is a gene. We have to understand the aspect of individual differences. Then we need to understand some environmental influence, peer influence, social influence, whatever influence it could be. But then before it gets to that stage, like when you give birth to a child, for instance, you start breastfeeding a child and then the child beats you and looked at you, the child smiled. You smiled back. What you're telling the child is that, your behavior is acceptable. It's fine. And then the child will go on with that. When the child bites you the first time, you frown at the child. This is not acceptable in the society. Like Yoruba said, that what is not good is not good. There's no way to try to fine-tune it that, let's say that this is not good. When a child does something bad, from the very first day that you don't spark the light, you don't say no, the child believes that, okay, everything is fine, everything is okay. But from the first day you look at the child, you spank the child with just your two hands. You don't have to beat hard. But when you try to correct, an unacceptable behavior, the child understand. Tomorrow the child would not bite you, but the child bites you, and then you look, you smile, oh yeah, that's fine, and then you believe that when it does think that it can get away with everything. That is actually how.
Now I understand what you're saying, and it seems cool. However, does it mean that only the parents are directly in charge of how the child turns out? Where is the role of the society in all of this, and the role of the child's own personality coming to play?
It all starts from the home. Charity
begins at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before a child will go out, at least you have to stay with a mother. Let me just use that. That would always be there as well. Like okay, it is now that we think that we have a crèche. In those days, your child will stay with you till 6 before they start going to school or anything. That education actually starts from the room, not until when you get to the four corners of the classroom. No. What we train, it is from the home that we train them manners, we train them how to behave in the society, the norms, and the unacceptable whatever. And then they will carry the basic thing from home out. They're supposed to have the home has to lay the foundation, that is the solid foundation, before they will go out. So it still has to do with the parenting method.
That's how it is kickstarted.
Well, yes.
Now, Mrs. Odeshile, where does the society come in?
The truth about it is, in my own research, because you again talked about could it be the child, even though here we might not want to accept it, but you have biological factors also, and research has shown that sometimes in the uterus, damage to the brain, or a child or the brain that didn't get enough oxygen, those things can also tamper, because you just see some children. I put up a post that at one point the children go from good to bad. Children are supposed to be good, but you just see some children that even almost as they are dropped, you begin to see them show some traits, and you're wondering, are you a child? So we need to also begin to actually look at those areas. That's one. But the other bulk of it is environmental, and where the parenting takes a major part of it. We really can. There's no way we can go back and forth about that. Now, aside that, the society also takes a part of it. Because even the parents are in the society, other people in the society that form the family come into play. Outside example, when we look at what leads children to becoming delinquent, when you remove the biological factor that I mentioned about, and then we look at the environmental factor, you look at abuse in the home. That's where the home is at. So children that have experienced abuse, between couples are likely, are more likely to become delinquents. Now, children that grow up in domestic violent areas, now the violence is not in the home, but it is in the area environment they grew up with. Now that's society, coming into it. So it's not just what happens in their home, what happens around the home. The parents, of the neighbors. For instance, children that grow up in neighborhoods where you just hear is the shooting up and down. It's the snatch bags, and all of that. You see drugs, you see condoms littered all around. Children that grow up in such environments are more likely to toe that line. So then again, exposure to violent media is another major factor, of becoming predisposed to delinquent behavior. So at that point, that's where the society comes into play. So it's like it goes hand in hand, because if you take care of your child at home well, and you live in an environment that is violent, so that child can still come out turning back.
There is a proverb about in Yoruba land that it's a pair of eyes that would give birth to a child, and then dozens
a million actually
would raise that child. How? I mean, that was in the time where there was effective communal living. It was a whole community that are actually responsible for that child. But nowadays, for example, all these get inside children that as soon as you're back from the hostel, you're back at home, the gates are locked. Do we attribute this new trend, to participating in the rate of juvenile delinquency we have today?
Well, A part of it, yes. But where I would disagree is that even though a lot of parents now keep their kids at home out of fear, because we need to understand it's actually out of fear of exposing them to all kinds that you go around. But then these children still go to school. So they interact in school. Now these children go to places of worship. So that communal really we still have that opportunity. So I don't think really that's a problem. I think there's been a major shift in our value system. And churches have failed, mosques have failed, schools have failed. Of course, parents themselves have also failed. So I think that's really is the major problem. For instance, in church, I remember growing up as a child, there are some people in our church. You walk past them, you don't greet them, or they don't answer you before you walk. A lot of the young people, they greet and go. Whether you've responded to it or not, and then by the time sometimes you don't even see that they've greeted you because they won't even wait for the response. So by the time you say, "Didn't you see me?" Say, "I greeted you when they came in." They do. I call it greet and go. They don't wait for response. You understand? Now in the churches, you do who born you, or you sit down, you're beside your mother. It's not your mom that will tell you don't stand up. By the time you want to stand up, you just see one mommy across. As I'm saying it, there's a picture of the woman in my face. Of course, growing up with met, we have good relationship. But once you look and see that woman's face, my dear, you just come, you borrow yourself bread, and then you just stay that. And in schools too. But because generally our value system have shifted, that's really why we're having problems. Now you don't have teachers that are teaching because they love the profession.
Just want to make some money.
They just want, and they're frustrated into that.
When you scold a child, most parents will come back and fight you.
That has always been there.
Well, yeah, and I also think it comes to approach.
So it's still parents.
No, yes, parents take a bulk of it.
I'm telling you,
but it does not stay. It does not stay alone with the parent, because the truth about it is, again, we cannot forget the system that we run. Before, it was okay for the woman to just stay, and then it's just one person that is bringing in the money, and it's fine. But now you can't afford to do that. Now, except your husband is a politician or an oil magnate or something, both of you really need to work together, bring the money to make sure your children get the best of life.
But that has nothing to do with...
Hold on, I'm coming somewhere.
Okay.
So, it's important to also understand the peculiarities of our time right now, even though it is no excuse. The home is a set. I said with children, it's like a seed. That's my analogy. It's like a seed. You plant the seed. Now, all those things that you in what we do, that the personality of a child really is developed. Freud's theory, between 0 to 3, or max of it to 5. By the time that child is 5, the personality of that child is formed. Really, that's the truth about it. So it's a seed. All the watering and all of those things. By the time you now talk to your child and the child stands up and talks back to you and all that, that's flowering for me. You are seeing the flowers. If you don't do something about it, then it will go. It's not when we see the fruits and they begin to ripe. That's when we now say, "Oh, you okay?"
Which was why I said charity begins. It's actually from that age before they go out.
It goes, yes, it actually starts from the home, but it goes beyond the home. I'll say another example.
I talked about environmental influence, and I also talked about peer influence. I talked about psychological influence. I talked about their mental health, and even I talked about the environmental influence. When I just touched it bit by bit, but then it starts from the very first day that the child starts sucking.
Yes.
And then you do nothing about correcting that maladjustment behavior.
Yes. We have a child's personality. Working with children, you know that their personality differs. Now, in a case where you have a child, fine, that is maybe agreeable, listens to you, very obedient, then you have another one that exhibits this willfulness.
Still the same parent, still
the same parent. What do you do in such a situation?
Well, the first thing I think it's important for you to understand is children have different personalities. I think a lot of time parents forget that our children are magnified versions of ourselves. They are just improved versions of ourselves. And so in the good part, yes, improved. And then also in the bad part, when you are improved version, you're actually improved version in across board. So I think we need to identify that children are different. Now, but there is no child, whatever the personality of the child, that does not understand love.
Yeah.
So it starts really from before the personality begins to exhibit. You have children that once you say sit down, they sit down. But the truth about it is, even with those children, that does not make them the best.
That's right.
Because it's perception. We have children that their parents say sit down, they don't stand. But you see what they do. The vacuum, there is vacuum. Because in fact, the danger is those kind of children get less attention from the parents. Because the parents just say, once I talk to this child, that child is fine and fantastic. Now there's a vacuum. So they look for other things to fill in the vacuum. So when that child goes into pornography, the parents does not get to know, because he does not talk. She does not talk. She does not exhibit any character as such that is out of place. But the other one that seems to be everywhere is the one that has attention. So I say, from your interaction with them, communication is very, very key. And whether you are the outspoken type or the withdrawn, the introvert, communication, the way you talk or the way you're spoken to, is really, really very important. So I think basic rules should go by everybody, irrespective of the personality of the child. Now, and it starts from the start when you said, but although rather than do the spanking, for a child you're nursing, that by what I would do at that point is put my hand, remove my nipple from the mouth with a stern face and say, no, you don't do this. And then we get the message and we continue.
Many
with
people would say
so
that
really
at that age,
important.
the child maybe doesn't understand
No,
what you're saying.
I always
They
say
do.
that children,
They do.
How-
Even from the womb, they do.
Yeah,
From
because
the womb, they do.
my son did something. The song I used to sing to the child, and that's really why I really started believing a number of all those things about children development in the womb. There was a song that I really used to sing while pregnant, and then while the child was, when my son started speaking, I'd forgotten about the song. And then one day he picked the tune. I was,
Wow.
for me it was a complete changer for me. I kept asking, did anybody sing the song? Did that, and there was my husband that reminded me that, but is that not the song you used to sing to him? So they have ears and they can hear and they understand. The brain is also formed and is also developed. So when you have children with different personalities, one thing that a lot of times we do and get wrong is to make comparisons. Ṣé o lè jókòó jẹ́ bí àbúrò ẹni? Why? Jókòó jẹ́ is jókòó jẹ́. Don't put the bí àbúrò ẹ àbí bí ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ. I don't want you to get up, and I mean it. You don't get up. So it's not a function of whether the àbúrò sits still or not. But once we start with, what we like, Yoruba in particular, I don't know about other tribes, so because I'm Yoruba, I can relate more to that. We like comparison. I think it's a Yoruba. So it's important, and that's really where the problem starts. And sibling rivalry is another problem that a lot of parents set for themselves that they don't understand. And it starts with simple things that, if it were your sister, she would have finished assignment. If it were your brother, he would have finished his food. It's only you. You always delay. Sometimes, I do that myself, but I catch myself in between that. No. So just do this. So when you have children with different personalities, also understand that you and your husband are different people. That's why you can gel, you can complement each other and relate with them. Understand one of the things that I say, when a child is doing something, why is the child doing it? And that's one problem we don't understand. Why is that child trying to get attention? Okay. So the reason for it is what will determine the response to it. Now, so this, my child, if I say sit down, will not sit down. If I say sit down to you, the other child, that one will sit down. I need to understand, why would this sit down? Is it because she's tired already at that time? Her energy level is low.
So it's
not
easy to
So it's
obey.
easy for her. It's not because she really wants to obey me. It's because that's the comfortable thing for her to do at that time. So those are things that you need to understand if you're looking at,
right.
getting compliance from your children.
We're talking about how to curb juvenile delinquency now. We've been talking about starting at this age. What about people who already have children who are displaying the fruits? What do we do?
Okay, now, one of the things that you need to understand, like I said earlier, is what has caused it. You need to understand it. Now, children that have witnessed abuse, children that have been sexually abused themselves, there are two classes. A child has been abused emotionally, sexually, physically, psychologically, whichever way, even negligence, deprivation, all of those things come under neglect, come under abuse. Now, if it's a child that has been abused, that is now exhibiting truancy or delinquency, it's a different approach. For that kind of child, what you need to do is to build relationship that's been lost. It's going to be hard, really, because almost, really they are formed already, and it depends on the stage at that point, is to build relationship. Now, if it's a child that has, okay, so again, that child might need to go through therapy. Now, for instance, a child has been sexually abused, and then begins to, now has affinity for the opposite sex. That one is not your sitting down to talk alone that will work. That child needs help, needs to get psychosocial help, needs to get therapy, needs to get counseling. That's why I said you need to understand what has caused it. Also, you need to look at yourself. Also, part of understanding what has caused it, is it because I'm not available for those children? Is this something that I'm doing? And I say start with you. Is this something that I'm doing? Or is it something that my children are exposed to? Now, those are the things that you need. So one of the things is remove the cause, understand the cause. Remove whatever is causing it. If it's still what you can change. Now, that is within the present. Now, if it's something that has happened, experience that has happened, it means that child needs to go through therapy. You and the child need to. Because how to deal with a child that's been sexually abused going forward is different. So that child, the two of you would need to go through counseling to be able to understand how to help this child. Now, for some, it just requires that you change your habit. Communication is key in all of this. When you have a child that is showing trancy or that is showing that is delinquent, communication is key. A lot of times, our children don't really understand the effect of their actions. So you need to let that child see that when you don't do this, this is what happens. This is what you lose. This is what we lose. Now, this is what the society loses. So if your child is able to identify or understand and relate with, okay, this is what happens when I don't do this, which communication is very key, then you are in that process of, getting the child. And again, a lot of times, children become rebellion out of bitterness. They just want to get back at the parents. And that's why I say it actually starts, it's inward. When you identify the cause, you realize that, okay, maybe it's because my child has been exposed to the wrong friend, so you cut that. It's because of what my child watches, so you begin to look at what is going into my child's mind. What books are my child reading? Those things, you remove that. But when you bring it and you realize that it is something with you that you can control, then you need to begin to have those conversations. So you have the conversations with the child, and then you might need to, in fact, most cases, to get the help of
Mrs.
somebody.
Johnson, your take on the question.
Sorry?
Your take on the question.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
I don't even know the question, sorry.
So, what to curb juvenile delinquency now? It's easy to say that from a young age, this is what you do.
Yeah.
But for people who are already formed, what is the way forward?
Well, like she said, the truth of whatever it is. Most time when child has put up this kind of rebellion, whatever, it is children that needs attention.
Yeah.
They always look for a way to get to your attention, and they will do anything possible just to get that
Attention.
either through being whatever methods they want to do that. They'll do whatever they want to do just to get your attention. I think the main major thing is that before you could, even in counseling, before you could solve any problem, the first thing you have to do is you have to get acquainted to the fellow. If you don't talk, if I don't speak with you, you don't know what is.
Who is doing the acquaintance now? Getting who? The child should speak with the parent.
It's not the child. The parent has to be the one to start it, because
Okay.
we now in this issue it is a child that we want to bring out of whatever situation that we think we're not pleased with.
Okay.
So it is the parent that will instigate whatever it is. Try to look for a way that something, maybe there's something they are doing wrong, or there's something they are doing that is not right. So they need to retrace
Their steps.
the steps and try to find out, okay, this child, do I really spend quality time with him or her? And then what are the things I'm exposing my child to? Then this social media thing too. It's wahala. Oh.
How?
It's wahala. I'm telling you, sometimes in education, we believe that whatever a child says stays longer. What are the things we expose our children to? This 21st century, many parents don't really have time for their children, and most they don't watch what their children are watching.
They don't even know what they are
Most
watching.
of these cartoons, if you know what they put in there. So those are the things could be wahala. Then the social, environmental, peer influence cannot be overemphasized.
So if the parent doesn't have the time and all of this monitoring still need to happen, how can parents balance it up?
It is very possible to balance it up.
How?
There's no how you want to be a parent and you don't have time for a child. Yeah, many people don't consider that. They just think that being a parent is just sleeping with each other and then bringing a child to the world. No, it is more than that. Before you have a child, well, that is my thinking. It might be acceptable or not. You have to think that, oh, am I ready for this? Will I be able to do this? Then you need to look at it. Oh yes, I still have to look for a way to cater for this child, to make the child comfortable. That we're talking about education. Give the child a solid education, and then good environment to live in, good food, and all that. Because all these things affect our personality. The environment, our nutrition, everything affects our personality. Now, when you look at that, okay, I'm able to meet up with this, or if not 100%, but to an extent, I'm able to meet up with this criteria, then I think I want to go ahead with this child. Even if you're working, you can't be too busy for your child. When somebody is being too busy for a child, there is serious problem.
That also brings to mind the role of the fathers in this situation. Now, we've been talking about parents, but most people would automatically assume, okay, the mother should be responsible for raising the child or something. The father's job is to provide or something like that. Does that negate the role of the father in raising a child? The fact that they have to provide or something?
It is, see, parenting, like Auntie Ayo said something when we started this program. She said that this Yoruba proverb that said that it is only 2 people that will give birth to a child, but millions of people will raise the child. If we have to retrace when we have our cousins, our uncle, our auntie, our brother, our whatever, everybody, in those days we have a lot of people living with us, and when a child does something that is not good, everybody will scold, we can't limit it to just mother, father, even you, me, you, everybody will all have a role to play in this subject we're talking about. But it can't just be a mother. The father too has to discipline the child. Despite that the father is the one providing, we still have to discipline the child, same as the mother.
All right.
If I'll say something,
Just make it quick.
yes, to wrap it up, I will say that parenting is synonymous with availability. I say it everywhere that I go. You can't parent by proxy. That's the truth of it. You cannot parent. Whether you're, and I say it, and I'll use this opportunity again to say it. Parenting, you don't have a single parent. Really, parenting should be the job of both parents. Except when, of course, the other party is not available. And I said, even if you're separated.
What about the widows?
I will get to that. Even if you are separated, as long as you can ascertain that your separation is not because the man is not a good dad, it's because you couldn't work it out. And I want to say that it's important that women, no matter how bitter that they are, allow the fathers, their husbands, estranged husbands, to play the father role in the lives of their children. Except if you're sure that the relationship between the father and the child would actually be detrimental to the child. Otherwise, find a way to actually put those differences and let the child, because when you see a child that doesn't have the father figure in the life, it just tells. Those are pre-pointers.
That's not true.
If it tells, in most cases,
In
fact, I would say it does tell.
Not 100%.
I would say 100%. Now, what happens is you realize that in the cases that it doesn't tell, somebody assumed the father figure. They don't.
It doesn't have to be the biological father.
A good mother has a way of to balance this up. I tell you, you'll be firm and then you're going to be friend at the same time.
Okay.
I'm a mother.
Ordinarily, you expect that the mother would do that. Be firm and be a friend.
Mother would.
However,
why not?
You think that the mother can play the father's role?
Why not?
No,
maybe we'll have to discuss that another day. This is just about juvenile
What happened
delinquency.
to single mother? What happened to the widows? Are you telling me that because I lost my husband, so I have to keep looking for somebody.
There
to
can
talk
be
to my
father
child.
figures.
I
There
understand.
can be
I
mentors.
understand that there will definitely be father figure.
As long as there is.
There
but
has
then
sorted.
a father figure are not staying with them under the same roof.
It doesn't
Most
have
times
to
they have
be.
to come. I
It
understand,
doesn't have
but
to
a
be.
mother could. I'm telling you, and I've seen so many. I might not be able to mention that I've seen so many that the children turn out to be good. Yes, raised by a mother. Yes.
I have seen that. I can bet it that there was a father figure somewhere along the line. As we wrap it up, I just say that it's very important again, because you mentioned something about social media, that as a people now we begin to raise conversations around this. Now the government needs to also come on board. We need to look at the negative effects of the social media on the parenting of our children, on the lives of our children. Before, if you want to go to pornographic sites, you have to click. But now you have them pop-ups.
Even bring
without you just open your phone. So your child wants to use your phone for an assignment, and before you know it, the child has pop-up.
And that is why
even
the area of a parenting, even when a child is having an assignment,
our social media, we need to. That's
we
what
need
I'm
to
saying.
monitor them. We don't just leave them to the my child can handle, can operate. I still have to monitor that. What is my child doing at every point in time? You have to go into peep to see what the child
they're
is doing.
And I think that comes to what you said earlier about parenting cannot be done by proxy.
I call myself mom cop. And I say yes, that as a parent, if I'm going to leave anything, as a parent, you need to be a cop. You need to be a detective. And you need to, as you grow, hone your detective skills. You need to be able to look and see beyond what you're saying now, for you to be able to do that. And that's why when things happen, you can put it in your head and join it together. If we're going to be able to protect our children, if we're going to be able to raise children we will be proud of, male and female, because that's another matter, entirely. Male and female, you have to be a cop.
We really need to go. Thank you so much, ladies, for being on the show. We have Mrs. Ibukolu Alteshile, who is a child advocate. Thank you very much.
It's a privilege.
And Mrs. Folashade Johnson, who is a guidance counselor. It's been amazing having you on the show. And then we'll take this break. When we come back, we have more. Stay with us.